Good morning, viewers. This is Mr. Gonzalez. It's April 16th. It's 3:26 a.m. This video is for. It's not for. It's a formal complaint against the Webb County Attorney's Office in Laredo, Texas. In their website, they have a government code section S45.340. The Webb County Attorney is responsible for handling or prosecuting all juvenile child welfare and mental health cases in Webb County, which I highly doubt. The difference of today is that I don't actually have a audio what I'm gonna say, but I don't obtain nothing by lying. Everything what I say, it's a certainty based on facts. I'll be mentioning names, and that should be more than proof enough. On Tuesday, the 11th of April, around noon, I went because earlier that day I went to LPD based on charges we had presented to Carlos based on assault that he hit my mother, Ms. Gonzalez. The investigator having the case, David Paz, I doubt he did something about it because I had given him a call days prior. He took approximately like 5 to 6 minutes, asked me 3 times for my name, asked me what was my relation to the person due on the case, Ms. Gonzalez, and he couldn't find nothing. If I was a detective or investigator, the first thing I do, grab my notebook, write down who is calling, ask for the case number, or etc. But David Paz, investigator for LPD, never asked me for a case number. He asked me 3 times for my name. He told me to hold on while he had access to the case. During the call, I hear just rambling papers, so I highly doubt that he proceeded with the investigation because, like most I've heard before, if it's just back and forth, like telling groserías or whatever, they won't do nothing. But they didn't even bother because on the day of the assault, Carlos, who the juvenile who has been arrested and has a long tail, como quien dice, ya tiene cola que le pisan. Mm, they forgot about it. I told the LPD that my mom was assaulted. They didn't proceed. They quickly were like, policy is that if the child is claiming outcry that he wants to kill himself, we have to go to a hospital. And no charges were filed. We had to go to the next day to file them apart, but they didn't proceed. That's why I went to the district attorney office to see what's going on and to see if it's fair that this juvenile just walks around, beats everybody left and right, and could get away with it. Because every time that he makes an outcry, he gets sent out of town and he doesn't faces the law. But like we've seen in the past in news events and school shootings or you name it, that when when tragedy strikes, they claim insanity to not face prison. So I went to the district attorney office because it's the last straw. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being treated like minority. Also, Ms. Gonzalez. I'm speaking on her behalf because I went to the district attorney office to get an explanation to see why didn't they proceed on the case. But when I get to downtown in Laredo, Texas, to the district attorney office, they ask me what they want, what do I want, and I tell them that I needed to speak to someone. An older gentleman comes out, and I tell him what's going on about Carlos. That almost every week he has to be sent out of town because he makes outcries, allegations, whatever. But I call it chiflazon. Uh, there's been officers from LPD that also stated that he needs discipline. They tell me que le dé una nalgada o que le dé una cachetada, but I tell them that I'm not gonna do that because I have CPS and the FPS involved, which they don't help either. So I tell the guy from the investigator from the district attorney office what's going on, and he tells me that they only prosecute or help around with adult. They don't take care of juvenile stuff. But he gave me a reference and gave me the name of somebody I had to speak to. He heard me out. I told him the situation, and he told me that it's wrong. He can't believe that the agencies that I'm gonna mention are involved and they can do nothing about it, like CPS, DFPS, uh, Detention Youth Village in Laredo, Texas, LPD, border region is trying to help him, but they send him out, let's say on a Tuesday, and he's back on a Thursday. Like, if he has mental issues, I don't think he's gonna recover in 2 days. So the other gentleman from the investigator from the DA's office gives me a reference to speak to someone he knows. He gives me advice, and he tells me a good advice that tells me to get proof that audios is not enough. Me telling them it's not enough, that I need to get. I tell them that I'm gonna have a committee meeting around this week, which involves border region, CAPS, Yes Waiver, CPS, DFPS, the Youth Village, you name it. And he tells me to get like a power letter that states like the outcome of the meeting, who is involved, what agencies are involved, what's being done to help this child, which we already had a meeting prior to this one. And the incident started since October, and we're in April, so it's been 5 months. And last month, they barely approved an RDR. Like, all these agencies gave green light to finally sign a paper that they want to send Carlos to a residential place or treatment center. So I take the advice of the investigator, and I appreciate it. He heard me out, which it is really done. And I told him, he told me to that he was interested in this case and to give him the outcome of what his colleague, as you would say, or coworker from the other department from the Webb County Attorney's Office would tell me, and the results, to see if he could help me out. And I told him, don't worry, it's, as I mentioned, it's Tuesday, the 11th, April. And I told him, don't worry, I'll be sharp 9 a.m. in the Webb County Attorney's Office. But before we left, he told me I probably like, se me fue la onda. He told me about this guy's name, and then he pointed the building that he told me. Sorry. He told me that the building across is where I have to go. And I told them, I've been there before, and they couldn't help me out. They heard me out, but they told me that they couldn't do nothing in the Webb County Attorney's Office. But I told them, okay, probably things will change, and I'll be there April 12th, Wednesday, 9 a.m. sharp. So it's now April 12th, 9 a.m. I'm in downtown Laredo, Texas. I take my mother, Ms. Gonzalez. Before we get off the vehicle and before we got to the location, as the investigator told us that we had to speak to Mr. Garcia from the Webb County Attorney's Office. But before that, he told us, take everything, take the paperwork that says who you are, if you're the guardianship or whoever you are. Paperwork from Board of Regents, paperwork from the Juvenile Department. Take everything you have, proof, evidence, you name it. We also have a big packet from the UISD office, like write-ups. We have incidents that this child, he's in high school, has been contacting middle school children through links, which for me it's considered a big red flag, as it could be considered as a predator. But that was a past incident from school. So we have all this proof, we have everything they need, and we are willing to cooperate. Youth Village in the past put charges on my mom of negligence or abandonment of Carlos. But all this is explained in prior videos that I have in this channel. But the charges didn't proceed because it's not factual. What we always prove is that we always cooperate with all these agencies and they get nowhere. We're always on the side to help them what they need. We try to be cooperative as we can. So on April 12th, we tried our best. We're looking to try our best to explain to Mr. Garcia, and we had our hopes up that he was gonna help us. And before that, I had the name of the investigator. He said, with this, he should take you in, and he should listen to you, because now you're not playing. Like, if you told me that you went and they couldn't help you, if you tell them that I sent you, they should help you out. Typical Laredo, that they say they can do nothing for you if you're not the compadre or the friend or the neighbor. But I appreciate the investigator from the DA office that he did that. So it's April 12th, 9 a.m. I get to the Webb County Attorney Office with my mother. And in the reception, as always, they don't let us pass in. They tell me, what do I need? And I start telling them, they tell me what's the regard of my visit, and I tell them it's regarding Carlos. And I tell them the last name, which his last name is unique. It's not common in Laredo. And they say, oh, we know about you guys. And the person we were speaking to is Dolores Flores from the Webb County Attorney's Office. And we start explaining, and we showed her the paper that the DA investigator gave us. And I told them that I was expecting to speak with Mr. Garcia, but they told me that he was out of town doing a training or something. And I told them Well, anyways, I told Dolores Flores. Anyways, the investigator from the DA's office told me if Mr. Garcia couldn't help me out, then I was more than welcome to speak to someone else. And she said that that won't happen because there's an ongoing investigation and that I could interfere with them. I don't know interfering in what, if we're being there trying to give them more proof of what they need. We have documents, we got names, we got witnesses, you name it. We have everything to help them to see how can they help Carlos if he has to go to a residential center or a mental institute or back to the juvenile department because he has probation. So he has all these options, but he gets nowhere. So I still be explaining to Dolores Flores that we're being there to try to be cooperative while we're speaking and explaining the situations. I tell her that on Tuesday the 11th of April, I tell her that on Monday on April the 10th, Carlos was in San Antonio in a mental institute. But it didn't even take him long. He was there like 3 days and he was going to be brought back on Tuesday, the 11th, in the afternoon. He arrived